So long, many pieces you got your partner. Got a terrible habit of doing that. I need to do that before I start. You got your partner, Puka Duty Squad, better known as AAWS1. Dig it. With the Jamestown fire camp story, y'all. I need to make some corrections from episode number 1 that I didn't address in episode number 2. Okay? Now, the first correction is going to be the dude that I knew from off the street that came in. I told you that was Hezbollah. He was not Hezbollah. I remember correctly now. He was Mujahideen. Now, the Asian, remember I said he was under the leadership of this Asian cat? Well, what had happened was I didn't tell y'all what happened when I first got, what happened in reception when I got there. But I did tell you the story before. When I got to reception there, it was a crazy dude in my cell. I didn't want to lock it down. Goon Squad came. I ended up talking to the Goon Squad. They told me, well, either you going to scrap with us or you going to lock it down. They said that to me in front of a lieutenant who had an Arabic name. Allah made the horn go off. They ran out. Come to find out, the lieutenant was a Muslim. I checked. I ran. I let him know, like, man, how you going to let somebody talk to me like that? And I'm supposed to be your brother Nadine. You know what I mean? He was like, wasn't nothing going to happen to me. Whoop-de-whoop. I can't move you tonight because I can't get no paperwork through. But inshallah, you can make it through. You know what I'm saying? I was like, well, dude try to run up on me, man. I'm going to do him. You know what I mean? Because I had a razor. I was going to just slice his ass up. We was just going to go down in there. Alhamdulillah, Allah didn't let that happen. Inshallah, he moved me into a whole different cell block where they was having Juma. I told y'all about that. There was a albino brother. Oh, I love albino women. To me, they are so beautiful, right? Anyway, he was getting transferred to San Quentin. He was like, man, somebody going to have to step up or they going to take it away from us, man. You know what I mean? Because he was getting us popped out of the cells and everything. We would have a Juma right there. You know what I mean? During lockdown, right on Friday. You know what I mean? Everybody could hear it. Everybody was in their cells. We all come out. We have our Juma right there, right? Boom. There was knowledgeable people there. There was one Shiite dude there. We really didn't want him to leave, but we knew he had super knowledge. But didn't nobody step up, so you know me. I'm the torpedo. I volunteered to do the Jumas there before while the brother got transferred to San Quentin. Okay, now I get over to the 2 yard. When I get to the 2 yard, dude is there from who was dude wasn't there from who I was off the street with, but the Asian cat was there, who I told you he was under the leadership of because he showed me a picture of them two, and I told him, I said, yeah, I know that little Asian cat, because I had to check him, right? Because them fools, they voted him the emir on the yard of that 2 yard at that time, and they was having problems with him being the emir, because brothers was like, nah, you know what I mean? Nah, it should be a black man. It was basically like that. And then he was getting funk from his other people, so they went through funk for him to be the emir. But then homeboy ended up being the emir. He tried to act like, well, it wasn't him, but let me tell you the situation. I used to go over there to watch the videos, right? I love watching Islamic videos. Dude in there by himself, they all sitting out there. I'm like, what's happening? I'm here to watch the videos. They like, well, the homeboy in there, he got some stuff on his mind. I was like, man, I don't give a damn about that. So when dude had came out, he seemed like he had an attitude or something. You know what I'm saying? Then he went back in there, right? So I said, okay. So I waited. And then when dude came out again, I went right up in there. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm here to watch some videos, man. What's happening? You got a problem? You got a problem with me or something? That's what I told him. I said, man, you got a problem? You got a problem with me or something? I don't know. What's up with them fools out there? He was like, oh, no, man, I'm getting ready to get out. You know what I'm saying? And I just had some stuff on my mind. I said, well, it ain't got nothing to do with people coming here and watching videos. You can go check yourself. You go check your mind in your cell, partner. You know what I'm saying? That's what I told him. I said, I don't know what y'all, this is what I told him. I said, I don't know what kind of sooner y'all falling. But I'm here to watch these videos, partner. And that's what I'm going to do. So then he started telling me what was going on with his life. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting ready to get out. And, you know what I'm saying? They had a wife for him in the Asian community here in Dago life. Whoop-de-wham, whoop-de-whoop. Okay, we're going to shut that down. So why do I always have to check somebody all the time? You know what I'm saying? I just stand up for what's right. You know what I'm saying? What's right is what's right. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, boom. Upon there being any more corrections and they come to mind, that I will address them, right? So now we go back to, I was waiting to get classified, right? And I believe it was longer than 90 days because I was stressing. You know what I'm saying? I was stressing. Because people was coming in and getting called, going to classification before me. Next thing you know, they getting their gym clothes. You know what I'm saying? Going for the PT. Excuse me, y'all. Going for the PT. They also run the mile in the PT because that's where I excel at, running at a distance. Now, don't get it twisted. I used to be quick, right? When I first started playing sports and baseball, I didn't have no stick or no glove, but once I got on base, I steal all the bases. You know what I'm saying? I had speed. You know what I'm saying? I only ran track for one season. You know what I mean? And so at the mile, yeah, I ran that mile under the required time for a person. I think it's 15 minutes or something like that. I'll get you the record. But I ran that mile up under that, but I'm going too fast. Anyway, I was stressing. Didn't remember I told you the white dude popped up, right? Boom. Now, I was laying in limbo until I talked to him. This is what I wanted to tell y'all. After I talked to that white dude, and he told me, like, he said, well, let me look into it. I'm see what I could do to get you, get you transferred, get you up out of here. Next thing you know, I got that ducat. You know what I mean? I got that ducat. Boop. And then I told you I went in there, and then they said, well, you ain't gonna use it as a weapon to kill nobody. And then when you there, now, we all la. I said, no. When I came out of classification that day, he was there. He was standing there kicking it. And he was smiling. And I went up to him. I said, man, I said, hey, man, good looking out like that, right? He said, you going to PT? I said, hell yeah. I was like, man, how much do I owe you, right? He was like, man, don't even trip. You know what I mean? He said, now, you know what I'm saying? Since you out of Dago, I'm gonna try and get you as close to Dago as I can. You know what I mean? And I was like, partner, I'm cool with just going through here. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't like owing nobody nothing. You know what I mean? He was like, man, don't trip. I was like, all right, cool. Torpedo or no. This is what I have to say about a torpedo. Because hell, they using me. If I can use you too, then it's mute. The feelings all mutual. We can do that. That's where I'm at with that now. Hey, you use me, I use you. Let's do a movie. You know what I mean? Now I'm starting to figure it out a little bit. Anyway, we started participating for the PT, right? So then I told you about the other cat that came in from Lincoln, that was the G with the young G that was there, right? Harun, that's what I named him. I know his street name, right? But I ain't gonna put it out there. Me and him start talking. Me and him start getting cool. He was in there trying to change. He said he wanted to change his life, and he was going to Christianity. I told y'all a little bit about him in a different video, right? And I told you I had got shook when I found out he had got smoked. I found out he got smoked fishing. I was fishing with a cat. You know what I mean? On one of my episodes, and he put me up. You know what I'm saying? And he's basically a G from Dago life. Been down here all his life, and he the one that told me. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, man, he got smoked. And I was like, damn. Because he was changing his life up in there, man. At least he was trying. We all trying sometimes. You know what I mean? And he was on a Christianity tip, and me and him used to get together. And he would read his Bible, you know what I mean? And he would tell me about what he was reading and stuff. Then we would talk about it. And I would give him an Islamic viewpoint of it, right? And we was boys. But anyway, that fool got there after me, and he got recycled before me. He went to PT before me. I didn't go to PT until the white dude, gave me the plug, right? He got there before me, went to PT before me. So I was like, damn, you know what I mean? But anyway, boom, let's jump to the PT, but there's other stuff going on too. Because there's some characters I want to tell you about. I'm going to start with my brother, Wasim. Oh, I love this brother so much. He was out of LA, right? One of the Louisiana boys. Because we was all in competition with having our haircuts waved up there. Everybody. The young G from Lincoln, everybody was barred up in there, and we was competing to see who had the tightest bars, right, in their haircut, right. And the young G out of Lincoln, he was barred up too. And when I got there, I was bald. So then I started growing my little cut in. I said, let me show y'all what's happening, because I used to always wear my cut with the part on the left, and I bar up hard, going to the right, right. And Wasim had so many waves, because he one of them good hair boys. Wasim He didn't even sleep with no wave cap. He was one of these type of brothers that wake up in the morning. He could throw a little water on there, maybe a little grease, brush it, then tie it up for maybe a half hour or so, and he take it off, and them bars be about that big, all the way around. You know, but his cut was off the chain. He had to tighten his bars on the yard. Anyway, Wasim's story was, Wasim was a middleman. And you know what middleman are. You play the middle. Wasim was blood and crip, right? Whatever he needed, whatever he wanted, that's what he was. You know what I mean? He messed around and got in trouble, and he jacked some crips, and he jacked some bloods on 2 different occasions and caught cases, right? So when he jacked the crips, he had to come in masquerading as a blood. So then when he jacked the bloods, he had to come in masquerade as a crip. You see what I'm saying? And then he finally turned Muslim. He got in, he turned Muslim and dropped all that. So when I met Wasim was now, inshallah, reformed as a Muslim, right? And he was riding out this last little beef. He was comedy. He used to tell me his stories. He wasn't getting no zips, okay? The man was running around with chickens. He was ganking for chickens. You know what I mean? So, it's crazy. And Rasim, because when we be on the yard, we ask, okay, who want to do the Dan? You know what I mean? And Wasim, he would always volunteer for the Dan, right? And we used to call it a raggedy little Dan. But ain't no a Dan raggedy, right? But that's just how we clowned it. Because it was beautiful to us because, it's not the most harmonious Dan, right? But it's still beautiful because it's the Dan and it came from Brother Wasim. And Brother Wasim was one of them type of brothers that help anybody. One of them kind of. Some Muslims are just like that. They friends with everybody. They cool with everybody. They try to help everybody, right? Because they know them blessings, man. They want that sadaqah. Allah bless some of us with that. You know what I mean? Where they just like that, man. I want to be like that, but I can't. I mean, so far from my experience, what he wrote for me, I try to keep my sadaqah on the under. You know what I'm saying? When I do get down with it, but inshallah, I want to get to a point to whereas I can do more and I can show people some of my little get down. You feel me? The help it out scheme, right? So now we gonna jump to that brother that was talking behind my back, right? With that he was stuck. One of the brothers told me he was doing it, right? That could have been a torpedo, but I already knew he was jealous because he didn't fit into our car, right? Now, this is how we were. We just was Muslims doing our thing. And you need to know what you're talking about when you're talking. You see what I'm saying? So, therefore, they didn't know what they was talking about. They felt intimidated around us. So they started splintering off, the ones that was janky. Then we had another one who was from Chicago, Nation of Islam brother, of course. He was just wreaking havoc on the yard, right? Just going around, acting all crazy like he was from Chi-Town or something. You know what I mean? Well, he was from Chi-Town. But, like partner, if you want to be a gang member, just be a gang member. You see what I'm saying? Don't bring no heat around us, right? So we had to have a discussion about the brother. The brother had got into something. And it was going to bring some funk. It was going to bring some funk on us. And this is after, and the brother from Ohio, here's another correction. The brother from Ohio, his name was Mujahid. Mujahid had paroled and went home, right? So what we did on our yard was this. We didn't have no super knowledgeable emir on our yard because Mujahid was the most knowledgeable one on there, right? And it was just me and about maybe 12 other brothers, right? So what we did was we just came together on all issues together, right? And we picked a negotiator, right? Well, T offered to be the negotiator because he said to me, he said, I know you. That's what he said to me. I don't know what that meant because I was going to go and handle the brother from Chicago, right? I was like, okay, yeah, we finna handle this right now because we can't have no heat on us. And he was like, I'll volunteer to be the spokesman because I know you. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I know dude. I've been around him a little bit longer. Let me get it. Let me get at him. So I was like, okay, cool. You handle it then. So he went and handled it and came back and told us what was going on with the situation and everything. And our decision was to roll his ass up off the yard. That was the best thing to do. Because if we would have left dude on the yard, he was gonna get stabbed up. That was what was told, relayed to him. What was laid to him was this: dude, stay on this yard, he finna get stabbed up. That's what was relayed to him. So we said, get your ass up off this yard. And we rolled his ass up off the yard. You ain't following the sunnah anyway. You just a plague to us, man. Boom. Got his ass up out of there, right? Now, I used to get ducats going over to the masjid all the time, right? And that's where I mean, we were blessed up there, man. We had a gang of videos up there, and we had access to the masjid. Once the clerk was able to get the ducat to go through, because then remember I told you there may have been a little animosity from the clerk from the 2 yard, right? He was lacking in knowledge too, right? But you know, everybody, I'm lacking in knowledge too. I've met kids that blow me up under the door and make me seem like I'm stupid. Straight up. Children, 7 years old, 5 years old, right? I'm serious. Know the dean. Anyway, we used to see each other in there because we all had the ducats and we go there and watch the videos and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So once we started weeding out the characters, because the beef was this: people feel threatened when they lack knowledge. When they can't expound in areas where they have no knowledge, they feel threatened. I think everybody suffers from some type of inferiority complex once in our lives. I know I have one. And some people are intimidated by individuals who can speak on different types of subjects, individuals who speak well, individuals who speak fast. You know what I mean? That's what I experienced. I've met that, especially when I was out in the street, right? Doing that. I've met cats that be like, oh man, I don't trust nobody that talk fast and all that. I said, nah, brother, you just can't comprehend. That's what's wrong. You know what I mean? You can't comprehend my get out because you used to being slow. You see what I'm saying? You slow. Your grind is slow. You see what I'm saying? I'm introducing you to a whole different get down. And you can't handle it because you can't control the situation. You see, I'm going to try to control the situation as much as I can, especially if I'm working with you, right? Now, I want to make a comment too back on the early days, man. A do-over. You know how you say sometimes, damn, I wish I could have did that over? I wish I could have did that over and I would have stayed in sports, man, and I left them streets alone. But that's what attracted me, and I wrote it that way. You know, who knows? I may have been successful in sports, but I wouldn't have been a Muslim. You see what I'm saying? So, I wanted to say that and say that, hey, he don't make no mistakes, even though to me, it's a regret, but I see it like it is. Now, okay, boom. We get ready to go into training. What other drama happened on the yard? Oh, I do remember the name of the young G that comes out of the coast, but I'm not going to say it. So they get recycled too. You know what I mean? So at first I got recycled. I'm in there. Then the next thing you know, a little while after that, they got recycled too. So now me, the young G from the coast, and the cat from Oceanside, we all training together. We in PT together. You know what I'm saying? And the big white boy I was telling y'all about from Minnesota, right? We all in PT together. See, because the white boys was tripping because we were doing the exercises. You got to train, man. You got to train for it, because you're going to be tested. So he was a part of my little crew. We used to, and yeah, burpees. They make you do burpees too. So we had our own little training crew, and he was with us, the white boy. And that's what the white boys, they didn't like that. Until I told y'all, I talked to the other white boy, and the white boy said, hey, don't worry about that. We know that dude is cool. He's still willpower just because he's white. Because they knew his situation. They knew he got sent up there. He got railroaded. He don't mess with nobody or nothing. So the other white boy told me, he said, don't trip. I'm going to talk to them other white boys and I'm going to let them know. You know what I mean? So I was like, cool. And after dude did that, me and him used to be on the yard kicking it. It was all good. So we all training together, and this is what I remember. They would tell you don't eat no heavy breakfast, right? Especially when you do that running. Because, you know, you throw up. And I used to see cats throwing up from doing that running, right? And I remember I messed around and they had my favorite, them damn pancakes, that pancakes and oatmeal with that peanut butter. Oh, I love that. I love that, man. I slapped that oatmeal on them pancakes. That service going down. And I had messed around and got full, right? But, you know, I haven't been sportsly active in years until I got up there and I started back retraining, running and stuff. I would run every blue moon, right? Man, got up there and they said, okay, we want y'all to run the 400, right? So we went from the long dashes to the short dashes. Let me get that right, y'all. Yeah, we went from long to short, I believe. Because the only thing I really remember, we went from short to long. Because I remember I was doing pretty good in the short distance ones. But I still was getting smoked because the young G out of the 30s and the one from Oceanside, they youngsters, right? They smoking everybody, right? But this is what I really remember. And I was coming in like 4th, 3rd, 5th. You know what I mean? Like that. And that's damn good for an old ass cat like me at that time, because them boys got wheels. I'm talking about they got wheels to where you can hear them peeling on the tarmac. You can hear their shoes peeling, right? So we did that 400, right? And this is what I really remember. I remember I was keeping up with them from the start. And you know you gotta pace yourself when you running them distances, them 200s and the 400s. You know, if you burn yourself out coming out of the gate. If you come out of the gate, you know, how shall I say, on all burners, you ain't gonna make it. You gonna run out of gas by the time you bend that corner, and you ain't got no training or nothing, and you don't know how to run. Yeah, you gonna run out of gas by the time you bend that corner. And that's what I forgot. But I had to peel out of the gate just to keep up, right? With them youngsters, man, because they peeling. And there's this other dude that used to be talking a whole lot of crap. I don't know where he was from, but he used to talk a whole lot of crap on whatever exercise we did. Like he was the best, right? And he was hanging up in there, and he was quick though. He had wheels. He could run with them youngsters. You know what I'm saying? So I remember we came around that corner on that 400, was hanging with them young boys for a minute. We start coming around that corner. When we got around that corner on that straight, that's why I told you I could hear their shoes peeling on the tarmac. Them young boys, they just peeled. They just, they burners just kicked in. You know, I forgot. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't hold back. If I'd have held back, I'd have been back so far in the pack. You know what I'm saying? I was back there with the white boys, right? But when them brothers peeled, man. It was like amazing to see how they just peeled all. And they was gone. They just left me. You know what I'm saying? But I beat that dude that was talking crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I got a story about that, and I'm gonna tell you about it. And then I got over there. That's when I threw up. I straight threw up. It just all came up, yo. It was just like, ha. The food was like, I told you, you shouldn't be eating all that food, man. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, man, because I am not used to running like that. And, you know, I ain't out on no streets running from no Babylons or playing ball or, hooping. You know what I'm saying? So that was a good achievement for me just to place what I placed, right? But when it came to the mile, hey, y'all, I smoked everybody. I forgot how many times it was around the track. You know what I'm saying? But I was in shape. I was ready to go. And when they said do that mile, I was like, yeah, this is me right here. You know what I'm saying? And when they got to that last lap, yo, I peeled on them fools. I sure did. And I was still smoking. I was smoking cigarettes at the time. I peeled on them fools, right? I left them in the dust. Like I told you, I ran it up under the required time. And I should have looked it up before I got at y'all. But inshallah, I'm going to bring it back. I believe it was around 13 minutes or something like that. But I smoked them fools, right? Because I saw one of the brothers, right? He was like, damn, Mark, I'm impressed. I said, why what? He said, you smoke cigarettes, right? I said, yeah. He was like, He's like, you can run your ass off. You know what I mean? He's like, Allah bless you. I was like, alhamdulillah. So inshallah, y'all, we're going to hold it on. We're going to hold it up right there. And then inshallah, I'm going to go into some PT training. And inshallah, I'm going to talk more about the setup that they had with the books and the videos and all that for the Musala. And then inshallah, I'm going to get into the scholastic training, because you go with the physical training first, and then you get into the scholastic training, but you don't actually work with no tools or nothing until you pass all that. You see what I'm saying? You know, you got to take all the tests first. Then after you take all the tests, then you get to get your Nomex and stuff like that. Now y'all see they wearing orange on the picture. When I was in there, we wore yellow Nomex. We looked just like regular people when we used to be out of the grade. We did not have orange. We wore yellow just like the CDF did, the California Department of Forestry. So inshallah, I'm going to get back with y'all. And inshallah, there's going to be episode 4. You got your partner, Pookie Duty Squad, better known as AWS1. Dig it? Y'all know what to do. Go ahead and do it. Islam in peace. Remain blessed, you and your families. Please be sure to tune in and get the rest of what's lacking and clacking, y'all. And big ups to everybody who views me, from those who subscribe to those who check me out now and then, and to those who are on the fence. Y'all who are on the fence, man, come on. Inshallah, y'all know what to do. So go ahead and do it. Salam and peace. Remain blessed. You and your family.